So you'd think with all the economic uncertainty floating around, the real estate industry would be, playing it safe, right? Cautious. But get this. A new survey of brokerage leaders shows the exact opposite. They're actually incredibly optimistic. So the big question is, how? How is that possible when regular consumer confidence is in the tank? All right, let's dive in and unpack what's really going on here.
Okay, let's just kick things off with a pretty wild number. A staggering 85%, 85 of real estate brokerage leaders expect their profits to increase this year. We're not talking about staying flat or, just getting by. We're talking about actual growth. That is a huge signal of confidence coming right from the top.
And that, right there, is the central mystery we're trying to solve today. You see all the headlines about inflation, about consumers feeling nervous. So where on earth is all this confidence coming from? It feels like it completely flies in the face of everything we're hearing in the news. It really makes you wonder, what do they know that the rest of us don't?
All right, so to really grasp what's happening now, we kind of have to look back at where the industry was just a couple of years ago, because believe me, the change has been, well, it's been pretty dramatic.
Okay, this is where the story gets really interesting. Just look at this trajectory. Back in 2023, only a measly 18% of leaders thought their profits would grow. Just 1 year later, that number jumps to 63%, and now it's at a massive 85%. I mean, that's not just a recovery, that's a complete 180-degree turnaround in how they're feeling about the future.
And this optimism isn't just about the bottom line, about profits. Leaders are also expecting more transactions to happen, to grab a bigger slice of the market pie, and they even see housing demand going up. So it's clear they're not just sitting back and hoping for a better market, they're actively planning to go out and dominate it.
But, and this is a big but, here's where the story gets a little complicated. You have this super high industry optimism, and it's basically running headfirst into a completely different reality for the average person, for the average consumer.
And what's really fascinating here is that even the brokerage leaders themselves, the same optimistic group, have kind of tempered their expectations for the U.S. economy as a whole. Last year, 66% of them thought things would get better. This year, that number's down to 59%. So what does that tell us? It shows they're not just wearing rose-colored glasses. They see the bigger picture, they see the challenges out there.
And this is the huge disconnect. You've got industry confidence soaring, nearly at an all-time high, while at the same time consumer confidence has absolutely plummeted to its lowest point in a decade. And let's be real, the consumer is the ultimate driver of the market, right? So if buyers are feeling this anxious, how in the world can brokerages be so incredibly bullish? It just doesn't seem to add up.
Well, the answer, as it turns out, has a lot less to do with what's happening in the external market and everything to do with what they've been busy building on the inside.
There's this quote from Michael Minard, the CEO of Delta Media, that I think just nails it. He said, "Confidence has not faded, it has hardened." And that's the key, isn't it? This isn't just wishful thinking or blind hope. It's a tough, earned resilience that's been built by facing the challenges of the last few years head-on.
So how exactly did they do it? How did they harden that confidence? Well, it came down to making some really smart and probably some really tough decisions. They took a hard look at their staffing, they got super aggressive about controlling their expenses, and they made strategic bets on technology. Basically, they trimmed the fat and built leaner, meaner, more efficient businesses. And here's the proof that it worked. For 2 years straight, shrinking profit margins were one of the biggest things keeping these leaders up at night. It was their number 2 concern. And now, it's not even in their top 3 anymore. That is a huge win, and it's a direct result of all that internal house cleaning they did.
Now, one of the biggest pieces of this puzzle, one of the biggest strategic shifts, has been the industry's massive adoption of artificial intelligence. So let's zoom in on that and see how it's really playing out.
Okay, check this out. A whopping 97% of brokerage leaders say their agents are now using AI tools. So we're way past the point of this being some niche experimental tech. It's now a standard everyday part of the real estate agent's toolkit. They're using it for everything you can imagine, from marketing to managing leads. And what's really crucial here is that the whole way they think about AI has evolved. The conversation isn't about should we use AI anymore. That ship has sailed. That question is settled. The conversation today is all about strategy and execution. It's, okay, how do we use these amazing tools to improve our workflows, to make our agents more productive? And most importantly, how do we get a real, measurable return on this investment?
Okay, so things are looking up internally, but that doesn't mean it's all clear skies ahead.
not at all. This newfound confidence is definitely tempered by a very real awareness of the hurdles that are still out there.
So now that they've gotten their profit margins under control, the focus has shifted, and it's shifted squarely onto people. For the fourth year in a row, the #1 challenge is still recruiting top-tier agents. And right behind that, they're worried about making their current agents more productive and, of course, figuring out how to bring in the next generation of younger agents. The battle has basically moved from the balance sheet over to talent development.
So, when you put it all together, what we're seeing here is a story of resilience. The real estate industry really weathered the storm, they rebuilt their foundation from the inside out, and now they've emerged leaner, smarter, and way more confident. They focused on what they can actually control. But that leaves us with one final crucial question, doesn't it? Will all of this internal hardened confidence be enough to navigate the choppy waters of the external market? Will it be enough to convince a nervous consumer that now is the right time to make a move? Honestly, that remains the billion-dollar question for 2026.